My name is Emerald, self-proclaimed weird Disney adult and writer. For over a year now, I've been blocking my way through the 58 official Walt Disney Animated Studios feature films. Here is my blog. While I still have a ways to go in updating this blog, I try to do a post once a week. I have successfully completed watching all of the movies, so I thought it would be fun to do a tier ranking video on 20 random Disney movies. This is all completely my own opinion. If I rank a movie low, I'm not saying it shouldn't be anybody's favorite, and vice versa. If I rank a movie high, I'm not saying it should be everybody's favorite. 100% my opinion, my taste. These are movies, Disney movies. It's all lighthearted and good fun. With fun things like this, love what you love, hate what you hate. You don't need anybody else's opinions to be like yours for your opinion to be valid. Okay, so I am going to put in minimum of 1, max of 58. Obviously now at the time this video will go up, Raya makes 59, but I am a baller on a budget, so I'm going to wait until it is for Disney Plus in June. So unfortunately she will be left out of this ranking. How many? I'm going to do 20. So I'll do it as do not sort so I get a random order of things, and then I will rank them in that random ordering so it's a little more interesting. Alrighty, calculate. And these are my movies. I'm going to copy these and then get them into an Excel doc with the corresponding movies. So I have my tier rankings here. All the movies at the bottom, corresponding to the number and in the order that the random number generator gave me. So we have our top tier is King Queen. I decided to try to go for a kind of a royalty thing because it's Disney. Then we have Great, but not one of the best. The Common Folk, the Middle Ground, the Okays. Then we have Fine, but wouldn't go out of my way to watch again. And at the very bottom is To the Dungeons with Thee. Let's get started. Okay, so first up we have The Black Cauldron. If you're not super well versed on your Disney history, you might not know that the Black Cauldron is actually infamous for nearly shutting down the studio. But I like The Black Cauldron. It gets a lot of criticism because it is very dark. It has skeleton armies, violent, kind of gruesome scenes, but I think it's fun. It's got a quest. I love a quest. It's got a headstrong, smart princess. Love a headstrong, smart princess. I love a band of misfits on the road together. So it's just got a lot of elements that I like. I can totally get why some kids find this movie scary, and it wasn't well received by critics when it first came out. I watched it as a kid and I wasn't scared, but I also watched Silence of the Lambs as a kid and wasn't scared. So maybe I just had some issues I had to work out. Anyway, it was the first Disney movie to get a PG rating, so again, it's got those scarier elements, but I just think that makes things more exciting, and it's got a villain that I feel like is actually scary. So for The Black Cauldron, I'm putting it in Great, but not one of the best. Next up we have Aladdin. Aladdin is so much fun. It is honestly like all of the biggest Disney tropes and like cliches. Everything's in there. Like, it is kind of the quintessential Disney movie. It's got magic and adventure. It's got a really sinister villain. It's got an adorable animal sidekick. It's got an adorable love story. The whole New World sequence is one of my favorite Disney scenes. I love them traveling to all the different countries. Jasmine is such a cool princess. She's outspoken and she's smart and she's strong. Aladdin is a really cool hero. I find him very easy to root for. He's clever. He's got a good heart to him. And of course, Robin Williams as the genie. Iconic, doesn't even begin to describe it. The fact that so many of his lines were just improvised. It was just Robin, and the movie is hysterical because of him. Honestly, there are a lot of reasons that I love this movie, but I could put it where it's gonna be just because of Robin Williams alone, and so of course I'm putting it in Queen, the King-Queen level. That being said, there's a lot that can be criticized with this movie, don't get me wrong. It's not perfect. None of these movies are perfect, obviously, but there's been a lot of valid criticism concerning the depiction of Middle Eastern culture and people, so there's certainly a lot about it that is not great, and I can totally get why there are people that don't like it or puts a bad taste in their mouth. Yeah, definitely not a perfect movie, but as far as just looking at it as a whole and in terms of all the Disney movies, I'm gonna put it at the top there. Next up is Fox and the Hound. This wasn't one that I watched a lot as a kid. I have a very vague memory of watching it once. When I went to watch it for the blog, I couldn't really remember a lot about it. It's sort of a blank slate watch for me. And it's good. It's so sad. Spoilers, I don't know if you haven't seen it. I mean, it is pretty old, but if you don't want to, I guess, hear stuff about it, maybe skip forward a little bit. The fact that the old lady who took care of Todd his entire life abandons him in the woods? Oh my god! Can you do that in a Disney movie? I do think it has a great message in terms of don't have prejudices against people and don't let other people's ignorance and preconceived notions, what have you, get in the way of friendship. The ending, they do go their separate ways, and there's definitely there's shared respect between them and they help each other, but it doesn't seem like they're going to continue being friends. They kind of go their separate paths, and I thought that was kind of a weird thing because it's saying the message is supposed to be that, friendship is about the person, not whether you're a fox or a hound, and then it's actually though, they can't make this work and they're gotta be separate. So because of the sadness, I guess if you want to say, it's not a super sweet Disney happy ending, but I like a super sweet Disney happy ending, so I'm gonna put it in the middle. So next up is Saludos Amigos, and that was actually the first of the 1940s Disney package films. To sum up the package film era, it was basically during World War II and after World War II, a combination of factors: studio being low on funds because of the war, animators getting drafted, the government wanting Disney to make war films and war propaganda style films, so they couldn't stick to their usual feature-length movies that they had been doing. They had to switch over to doing movies that featured shorter animated segments and things like that. This film is delving into South American culture, different countries in South America, and it's a mix of animated shorts and also some actual live action footage, so it's kind of like a animated movie combined with a documentary. I really liked all the live action parts about South American culture, seeing the fashion and the geography. One segment has to do with a plane in Chile. There are segments about Brazil. There are sequences I really like that showed dancing, that showed fashion. Also, I found this very interesting when I was doing my blog. Saludos Amigos came about because the U.S. wanted to strengthen relations with South American countries. The State Department actually commissioned this film. It was all part of the Good Neighbor policy, which you can look more into. There's a lot more to it that I could just sum up in this quick little video blurb. Because I really liked seeing, like I said, the live action footage and the geography, the fashions, the dancing, glimpse of actual real culture, which I wasn't expecting in a Disney movie. I'm gonna put it in the middle. Up next is Hercules. Hercules is one of my favorites. I love the music. Some of my favorite Disney songs. Meg is so funny and sassy. Hades is a funny villain. The muse is amazing. It's just fun. It's got a great animal sidekick, Pegasus. Danny DeVito it's got a great message and story. Doing all the heroic stuff, defeating all the monsters and things like that, that's not what wins him his godship. It's sacrificing himself and has to do more with the heart than with strength. I love that message. Yeah, Hercules is one of my favorites. I'm putting it up there with King Queen level. Next up, we have the one that started it all, Snow White. What can I say about Snow White? It's lovely. The classic of all classics. You got your princess, you got your scary witch, you got your sidekicks, your friendly animals. It's all in there. Snow White's sweet. She's just trying to live her life, man. And the witch won't leave her alone. Also, I have to say that I was on grumpy side way more than I thought I would be going into this movie. He was like, she's a stranger, she could be dangerous, and I'm like, he's right. Maybe don't let this lady into your house. This movie was so innovative, like to be a full feature-length film, all animation. The sequence of the dwarves chasing the witch up the mountain, it's actually more exciting than I think people remember it for and it gets credit for. It's certainly not one of my favorites. I feel like it starts off very strong in the beginning with her running through the forest, and that is a very scary sequence. And then at the ending, obviously things pick up. Oh no, she's been poisoned. They're chasing the witch. But then there's like parts in the middle where you're just kind of like, oh, they're dancing. This is cute. But then it goes on a little too long, and then, oh, they gotta wash their hands. That's a song. Okay. But because of what it is, and it is the reason that Disney exists. Is it as funny or exciting or as progressive as other Disney movies? No. But it's still, I think, a wonderful film. I can totally get some people finding it boring, or not thinking it should be so high, or maybe seeing it once and one and done being okay for them. I can 100% get that. But I'm gonna put it in great, but not one of the best. And then again, I feel like there are going to be people who are like, oh, it's Snow White. It is the Disney movie. How do you not put it in the top? But I'm not. Moving on to Oliver and Company. I'm a New Jersey girl. I grew up right outside of New York. I have such a soft spot for New York City. It starts off with a song out in New York. It's got Billy Joel. Billy Joel voices a Disney character, and I feel like that's not talked about close to enough. Oliver is so sweet. He's so cute. Again, love a ragtag group, and that's exactly what the dogs are. Jenny's little girl, such a sweetheart. Bette Midler voices a character. Not really too much happens in it. Like, it's sweet. I do feel bad for Oliver and Company because it was right before Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid launched the Renaissance, of course, but Oliver was like right there, and then it just gets buried after. It's not bad enough to be remembered as one of the low points. It wasn't good enough to be included in the Renaissance, so it's just kind of like in the middle. And so a lot about it I think gets forgotten, including the fact that Bette Midler and Billy Joel voiced Disney characters. I mean, come on now. It's fine. I don't think it's bad enough where I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it again, but certainly I don't think I would call it great. I will put it in the middle. Next we have Bambi. Bambi's obviously considered one of the early classics. Bambi wasn't one of my favorites as a kid. I definitely watched it as a kid, but when I was doing the blog and I had to watch it again, there wasn't much I remembered about it except for that certain scene, and I actually really liked Bambi. The animation was so pretty. The beginning of the movie is just so sweet. It's these baby animals frolicking around, Bambi learning about the world with his friends. It's so cute. The end sequence is all about fire in the forest, and it has a very strong conservation message. And I found it very exciting, even though, you know, I'm an adult and I know that nothing's gonna happen in Bambi. It was definitely better than I thought it was gonna be going in, and I really enjoyed it. It's definitely my favorite from that 40s era. This is so hard. But then when I think of the other movies, I don't think I would actually call it great. Alright, I'm putting Bambi in the common folk. I do like Bambi, but I think if we're thinking of the whole Disney canon, I would, if I had to rank every movie in order, I think it would fall in the middle, not like second tier. And then we have Dumbo. Not a fan of Dumbo. There's a lot of very racist undertone. I don't even know if I could say undertones, like overtones. Like, it's just, there are a lot of bad spots in that movie. The one I think everyone thinks of most would be The Crows, but there's also a whole song in the beginning when the carnival is kind of being built. Won't even say things that are those lyrics, but it's very bad. Dumbo himself is sweet and adorable, but the entire movie is basically adult animals roasting this child. The carnival is filled with a bunch of Karen elephants that are just rude and mean, and again so harsh towards a literal baby who can't talk. He's just going through all this crap. He's separated from his mom. The baby mind sequence. Oh, I didn't really find anything about it enjoyable because nothing good happens to till the very, 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 very end. I don't really get what a child would find entertaining in this movie aside from bright colors and a cute baby animal. I don't like Dumbo. No, not a fan. This might be controversial again, maybe just for the traditionalist crowd, because Dumbo is one of the early ones, or maybe people who really like to ride Dumbo. I'm putting it into the dungeons with that feels very harsh, but then I think about all the racist stuff, and the mean elephants picking on a baby, and then the circus hands physically abusing the baby and his mom, and I'm okay with being harsh. Next up we have Chicken Little. I never hear anybody talk about this movie, which I think is valid. If you haven't seen Chicken Little, it's based on the classic Chicken Little story. Little chicken, sky is falling, not really falling. But this movie has its really against it. It felt like it was trying to be two different movies in one. The first half of the movie is all about baseball, and then the second half of the movie is about an alien invasion. Yeah. I feel like they didn't know how to work in the alien storyline. They needed to bolster the beginning of the movie, and they did it with baseball. It just was very disjointed. However, I'll give props where props are due. I did find the movie really funny. I laughed a lot more than I thought I would. Also, this might be my hottest Disney take that I have. I think this movie has one of the best Disney soundtracks. Hear me out. Everybody adores Phil Collins and Tarzan. We know, he went hard on it, Megan has so many Oscars and Oscar nominations, but the Chicken Little soundtrack has Spice Girls, Diana Ross, Elton John, REM. Where else can you find all of this in one soundtrack? It's one of the only Disney movies that uses real world music, and it's very strange. I was jamming through the movie. That all being said, I still firmly place this movie in fine, but wouldn't go out of my way to watch it again territory. Oh, it's the first. It's also the first CG movie, so groundbreaking. Up next is Fantasia 2000. Much like its predecessor, Fantasia, very lovely music. I really enjoyed just listening to these movies, but this is a situation where it's completely my taste. I just couldn't really get into them because as much as I love listening to the orchestral pieces, it was just hard for me to follow along without dialogue. The song's not even telling a story, no lyrics. They aren't very memorable to me either. Each of them has maybe one or two sequences that I can think of. Other than that, Fantasias aren't my favorites. I can very much appreciate them for what they are. This is totally fine, but would not go out of my way to watch it again. Next is Princess and the Frog. This is such a fun movie. I really like it a lot. It was just nice to go back to 2D animated princess movie. And of course, it's the first Disney movie that has an African American lead. It takes place in New Orleans, it's a real city, which is a lot of fun. I love that it incorporates elements of fairy tale, but also New Orleans culture with the jazz music and the voodoo. I like that it shows there are good sides and bad sides. It's not just all bad. There are definitely certain parts of this movie that are a little bit slow for me and kind of drag it down, but I really, really like it. Almost There is great. Dig a Little Deeper is great, has a great message. Friends on the Other Side. It's one of my favorite villain songs. There are definitely things that get criticized about this movie, especially with Tiana being groundbreaking as the first African American princess and lead, but then spending most of the movie as a frog. This is a tough one. But if I'm going with my true opinion, I gotta put it in great, but not one of the best. I really do like it, but I don't think for me, it's not at the same level as Aladdin or Hercules. Next up, we have The Three Caballeros. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, I apologize. The second of the 1940s package films. This one was a follow-up to Saludos Amigos, less about culture, basically all about Donald and his two friends. There are a few shorts, and then there are a few sequences of him and the other two characters in South America. So it's kind of a mishmash of things there. This might be a bit controversial. I don't like Donald. He really annoys me. He's very rude and aggressive, so I'm not really a fan of having to deal with him for the whole movie. It was okay. I do think it has definitely its interesting moments. I'm gonna put it in fine, but wouldn't go out of my way to watch it again. Next we have Lady and the Tramp. Certainly a classic. This movie had two of my all-time favorite Disney characters, Tony, the restaurateur, and his friend who serenaded Lady and the Tramp. I love that. They have a busy restaurant business going on, but no, they gotta put everything aside and sing to these two dogs on a date. I would do that. The Siamese cats are certainly a racist element to this movie. That's not great. I feel very lukewarm about Lady and the Tramp, so this might be a bit controversial, but I'm putting it in fine, but wouldn't go out of my way to watch again because that's the truth. But unlike the common folk movies, all of those really like something about it would make me want to watch it again. And aside from my boy Tony and his serenade, I would be okay never seeing Lady and the Tramp again. Next we have Sleeping Beauty. So Sleeping Beauty, this surprised me when I was doing my blog, was that it actually also, like the Black Cauldron, nearly shut down the studio. And actually, there is no other fairy tale movie or princess movie until Black Cauldron. Audiences at the time just didn't like it, and obviously now it's very beloved. I love the animation of Sleeping Beauty. I think it's very well known and kind of famous now, and it's just so gorgeous. Aurora is sweet. She just wants to live her life in the woods. Can't blame a girl for having those Taylor Swift folklore vibes, but she should also have more lines in this movie. It's her movie. I give props to Philip for his whole attitude of he likes us as his dad. It's like the 14th century, and he really goes to bat for marrying someone who's not royal. Maleficent is a cool villain. I will say that she's not the smartest villain because she kind of leaves her dumb henchmen alone for 16 years and doesn't check in with them, and then she realizes, oh, they're still looking for a baby, and that's on her. You gotta manage your team better there. Be a better girl boss. Also, Aurora's parents send her away as a baby for the sole purpose of making sure that she is safe and protected until after the day of the curse, which is her 16th birthday. And then they bring her back on her 16th birthday. Worms for brains. How do these people run a freaking kingdom? Honestly, I think they should hand over the reins to one of my other favorite Disney characters of all time, the drunk guy playing the lute and stealing wine. Yeah, the music's okay. The one thing though I really hate about this movie, and this might be a hot take, is those dumb 3 fairies. They're terrible, and thank God Aurora survives as long as she actually does. Oh, this is a tough one because I really do like this movie. But is it middle? Is it great? I don't know if I would say it's great though. I'm gonna put it with common folk. I feel like that's kind of, that's a bit risky. I feel like that's kind of seen as controversial or a hot take to put it in the middle. Yeah, the fairies bring it down for me. So I'm gonna keep it as common folk. Okay, here's what I'm gonna go to bat for. Next is Hunchback of Notre Dame. This is what I consider the most underrated Disney movie. Best Disney opener, maybe second Circle of Life, but oh my gosh, the Bells of Notre Dame, just that chorus that comes in. Oh, I can't get enough of it. Very heavy themes, very important themes. Frollo is a terrifying villain because he's a very real villain. Esmeralda is one of my all-time favorite Disney characters, and I'm being totally serious this time. She's just a boss. She's an amazing person and character. She has compassion, she's clever, she fights for justice. She cares for Quasi when nobody else does. Now there are some aspects to it which I'm gonna admit keeps me from putting it into the top tier, even though it is a favorite of mine. It does slow down in the middle. Some of the gargoyle shenanigans are a little much for me. I do think that there's a lot to be learned from this movie. Beautiful music, beautiful characters. So I'm putting it in great, but not one of the best. Next up is Atlantis. This is one of those that people really love and want to go to bat for, and that's great. It has a lot of adventure to it. It's got a really diverse cast, which I think is awesome. Some of the backstory that gets into Atlantis bothered me when I was watching it. It just, there's a lot of stuff where I was like, this doesn't really make sense. And not on a fantasy sci-fi level. There was logic I didn't feel like was there. And again, yeah, it's a kid's movie, but there have been movies before and after this that Disney has shown that they can really put a lot of thought into things and be clever. But the science and technology, very, very original. I'll give it props for that. It's really hard because there are a lot of aspects about it. Like on paper, I feel like it would be right up my alley. History and Lost City, strong female characters, and the whole ending is just spaceships and lasers. I can't really remember that much about it. I do remember wishing they'd spent a lot more time in the city of Atlantis, because a lot before and after it wasn't very memorable to me. Definitely, I wouldn't put it as low as wouldn't go out of my way to watch it again. But I honestly don't know if I would call it a great movie. I'm gonna put it in the common folk. I'm sorry. I know people really love this movie and would put it in great, and maybe, like, I've seen people say that they think it's one of the best Disney movies. I definitely understand what people find in this movie that they love. It just was missing a bit for me. This next movie has the distinction of being my least favorite Disney film of all time, and it is Dinosaur. I can't really find much good to say about this movie. It's not iconic. Didn't like any of the characters. I'm a grown adult, and the dinosaur ride at Disney World still terrifies the heck out of me. This movie is just gruesome. There are dinosaurs tearing each other apart. There's like dead carcasses and a lot of death, and I have absolutely no idea why it's even in this canon. Do not like it. Didn't find the hero someone I wanted to root for. Didn't like any of the characters, and the villainous dinosaurs are absolutely terrifying. Yeah, can't think of a single good thing to say about this movie. I honestly hated it. No other movie in the canon came close to even being as hated by me as this one. So this is an easy straight to the dungeons with D. Next we have the Winnie the Pooh movie. This is from 2011. There's actually two. There was an earlier one in the 70s. I really loved Winnie the Pooh as a kid. As an adult, it's cute. It's fine. But again, it's short stories. It's not one long whole movie. So it was hard for me to really get into any plot. So it was fine, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch this again. And last but not least is Meet the Robinsons. Kind of an anticlimactic one to end on, I think. This one's okay. I didn't hate it, but there was something really about it I loved. It's kind of just this kid meeting random, interesting, kind of kooky family members. So it was entertaining, but there wasn't too much of a plot to it. And I do remember thinking that the ending, the climax with the villain, just kind of, it felt a little out of nowhere. Interesting, fun movie, imaginative and different and creative, but the plot wasn't there. The story wasn't there for me. And so I'm putting it in fine, but wouldn't go out of my way to watch it again. So that is my list. Thank you for watching along. If you enjoyed this, you probably will enjoy more of my ramblings, which you can find in my blog, which I'll link below. It has the history of each of the movies, my thoughts as I watch the movies, as well as memes and jokes peppered in. Let me know your thoughts on any of these movies or any Disney movies in the comments. I'd love to talk about Disney. If there's one I ranked low that you want to go to bat for, would love to hear it. If there's one I ranked high and you thought I ranked it too high, would love to hear that too. Love to hear all opinions as long as they're said respectfully. Let's just talk Disney movies. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and bye!